Hey there, friend, and welcome to the show. My name is Sarah Rusk, and I'm the host of the Hey There, Friend podcast. Man, do I have a great episode for you. This one is about a manifestation that actually came true for me. Like, holy amazeballs. It's been almost 2 months, and I can't believe, I made this thing happen. Oh my god. I cannot wait, friend, to tell you what happened. So, guess what I did, friend? I manifested my dream car. My dream car. I manifested a 2019 Honda Civic hatchback in Rally Red. And I'm going to tell you how I made it happen. And it's such a great story. Oh my gosh, it's a long story, but it's a great story. It took me an hour to type up all my notes. All right, so let me start off like any good story from the beginning. I'm going to tell you about the legendary Prius. Let me start off with my first car, my Chevy Cavalier, or better known as the sticker car. There's actually a National Sticker Car Day amongst me and a couple of my friends, because that car was legendary. Everybody knew me by that car. That car was covered in stickers. And when the transmission finally went on that thing, oh my god, I cried so hard when I was taking those stickers off. I got so attached to it. And, I know it was just a car, but it had become more than just a car for me. It became a gigantic white memory box, pretty much. It carried all of my horse tack and gear and equipment when I went to horse shows or states, going to the 4-H fair. And it lugged my massive drum set, 2 large amplifiers, and a guitar around to different gigs when I was in high school and thereafter. Dude, what a cool car. It really was such a good car. And when it finally went to the junkyard in the sky, or technically the junkyard down the road, my dad came home with a green 2001 Toyota Prius. Yeah, a Prius. Apparently my dad found it online for a decent price, and before anyone in that dealership knew that it was it was a really strange story. He saw it online. I guess he was car shopping. He was nifty like that. And he was thoughtful like that as well. He knew that the white car was going, and he knew that I needed a car, which, again, very thoughtful of him. He saw, there isn't even a picture of it. He saw a Toyota Prius for I don't know, I think they had it listed for $3,500 or whatever. So the next day he went down to the dealership and he talked to them and got them down. He said he got a good deal because he lied and said that he was in the military, which, I guess dads just have a way with negotiating things that I just will never understand and don't really care to understand. And they thought that he was on Axemen or Ice Road Truckers or something, because he had a big beard and he was a gigantic redneck, and they cut him a deal with that, or they gave him some money off. I don't even know. But all in all, I think he got it for I don't know, $2,000. I don't know. But he got it for a good price, and it lasted a lot longer than it was worth. I got the money worth out of it and then some. And when everything was said and done, when I finally got rid of my car, I checked the Kelley Blue Book value of what it would be worth with the mileage and everything. It was over 200,000 miles. And the price, according to Kelley Blue Book, is $145. I mean, I drove the crap out of that car. We went down the shore all the time. I go to New Hope, PA all the time. The concerts I go to, just everywhere, and back and forth to the barn. It's 12 miles one way. So that car was, it was great. I loved it, and I do miss it. I really do. And, the second I brought it up when I first got it, I worked at a gas station. When I brought it up to my job, man, I got made fun of it. I got made fun of for it. But let me tell you, it was amazing on gas. It really was a good car. And, I have a fun story to tell you. When I was in high school, I once believed that there was no such thing as a green car, because back then I was not very observant. I went on my very first date with my very first boyfriend, Ben. Invisiben. He was Invisiben and I was Sarah Savior. Those were our superhero names. And we went ice skating, and apparently my feet really hurt, and the ice skates just weren't, I wasn't jabbing with them. So we walked across the street to the Barnes and Noble that was over there, and we were people watching and car watching. And I looked out the window and I saw a green car. And I was like, "Oh my God, Ben, I've never seen a green car before." And he was like, "What?" So it was really cute. For Valentine's Day, he made me a handmade card, and he bought a little green car, and he taped it to the card, and he wrote underneath it, "See, they do exist," with a smiley face. And it was so cute. And it's really funny that I wound up with a green car at one point in my life. Like, how serendipitous of that. um, I promise I won't turn this into a car episode. I just wanted to talk a little bit about it to make you appreciate the story a little bit more, and to kind of give it more of an impact. The Prius was like driving a tricked out golf cart. It accelerated at its own pace. It didn't like going over 75 miles an hour, and it knew how to hunt and hit every single pothole, especially on major highways. I became best friends with the AAA people. I was literally getting new tires like almost every other month. It was so bad. But again, that car, it was awesome. In the summer, it could go over 450 miles, and for an entire tank of gas, and it only took $18 to fill it. Like, oh my God, it was awesome. It got to the point though where the check engine light was always on, and I was getting tired of putting money into it, and I really needed and deserved an upgrade. But it's scary to buy a car. I've heard the horror stories, and they say, like, if you buy a car brand new, it loses like, $5,000 right up once you drive it off the lot and everything. And it's just all of these awful stereotypes around buying a car. I'm not that kind of person that likes to deal with stuff like that, and I don't negotiate well at all. So over the past couple of years, I've been doing some shopping and looking into potential cars that I might like. I kept saying, oh, I'll wait, another 2 years, I'll put money into the Prius, and then I'll go searching for a new car. It's still going, it's still kicking, barely, but it's still going, and it'll be fine. And one car in particular caught my eye, and I loved the color. If anyone who knows me knows that I love the color red, and the color is red and black. Braveheart and our colors were red and black. I had a red and black saddle. I had my tack and everything when I rode Brave. Everything was red and black. It was just, the car was so beautiful, and it was sporty looking. And I looked at what the car was, and it said it was a Honda Civic hatchback. And right then, right there, I knew that was going to be my car. The hatchback for me is one of the most important features, only because I love camping, and I have a dream of just traveling all around the United States in my car, camping in it and whatnot. And the hatchback would allow me to put maybe, a twin size blow up mattress in it, or just a sleeping bag with all my, equipment and everything. So I could actually camp out in my car. Though in the past, I have slept in the back of an Elantra driving to and from Florida using a case of water as a pillow. It's not ideal, but I did it and it worked. Now that I knew the kind of car I wanted, I needed to figure out, how the heck was I going to make this happen? I really didn't have a lot of money. The money that I had saved up, I saved up over $9,000, with the potential of buying a new car back in 2017. But then Braveheart got sick on me, and I had to take every penny. All of that money went into trying to save Braveheart's life. And I got him for another 9 days and then had to put him down. So there was all the funding I had for a new car. And that stupid check engine light kept coming on in the Prius. The Prius worked fine. It was doing great. Besides the whole hitting potholes thing, the struts were going a little bit. It shook every now and again and made some weird noises, but it was still going. It was fine. It was, for what I needed it for, it was doing great. So within the past year or so, I started doing some cool visualizations. It's a great technique for manifesting things. I've done it in the past, and this one, I didn't know how it was going to work out because it's a flipping car. That's a big thing. It's a big thing in both the aspect. Physically, it's big. And when you think of a new car, that's a huge investment. I had no idea how the hell I was going to do this. I would visualize a beautiful red car sitting in my driveway. I got excited and would feel, just anytime I walked out of the house, I would pretend like, oh my God, I'm going to my new car. Oh, it's so great. Oh, it's so beautiful. When I drove and saw a Civic, passing me by, I would say, oh, there goes a relative of my car, or any other Hondas. I'd be like, oh, there's the cousin of my car. I still do that. Or if it was a red Civic hatchback that would pass me, I would say, oh, there goes my car. Without fail, without even thinking about like, oh, when am I going to get the car? I'd see a car, just boom. Oh, there goes my car. There goes my Civic. There goes a relative of my Civic. I also did a physical practice too, which I honestly think this made a huge difference. When I think about it, this is something that pops up in my mind as one of the things that really like hit the nail in the proverbial coffin in making this work out for me. I would always going to the barn. My boots are disgusting and dirty because I shovel horse shit and I'm in mud 24/7 up there. And because I work at the barn, my boots are always muddy. And with the new car, I didn't want to get that mud all over my car. So I started taking my boots off before I got in my car and swapping them with either flip-flops or slippers from my trunk. And whenever I would drive the Prius, I would pretend to see the red of the Civic, the hood reflecting back. And when I gripped the steering wheel, I was gripping like a brand new steering wheel and pretending that I can change songs on my steering wheel and that I didn't have to plug my phone into an aux cord, and having Bluetooth and being able to listen to music while charging my phone at the same time, because thank you, Apple, for not giving me a auxiliary cord jack or headphone jack anymore. Oh, but anyway, I digress. I felt the joy of having the new car and the joy of having a reliable car. And just thinking about how much of a badass I would feel owning that car. Like, my hair is red. Well, right now it's kind of like a mahogany color, but my hair was like an obnoxious bright red. Like a pretty red. Again, I digress. And I did this as often as I could, and I made it feel as real as possible, except for the boot thing. I did that every single day. Now comes the time for the Prius to be inspected. This was around August, because I think it needed to be inspected in September. So of course I waited until the last week of October to have my mechanic look at it, and the sticker was about to expire, and that damn check engine light was still on. It went off for the longest time. My mechanic fixed it. I know exactly where I was. Skylar and I were playing hooky, and we were going up a hill in New Hope, Pennsylvania, and I had AC on, and we were going up that hill, and the Prius said, nope, and the check engine light popped on. So I'm like, son of a bitch. And it hasn't gone out. So I took it to my mechanic, at the end of August, and he put about $400 into it, and the light went out for about 6 hours. That was on a Friday, and I had to wait until Monday when the inspection station opened to get it inspected. And that didn't work, because again, 6 hours. He said the problem might be something a little bit more serious, and it could cost me upwards of $1,000, because it was more of like an invasive process where they had to take things apart and parts and everything and sensors and blah, 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 car talk, blah, blah, blah. At that point, I kind of felt like it was time to try car shopping. I bit the bullet that day, and just my mom and I had that talk. I had saved up some money over the year, and I thought I could find something used and maybe take out a loan for what I couldn't afford and see, what the process would look like after I kind of decided upon what kind of car I wanted. Because, I wanted the Civic, but in reality, I don't know if I would be able to afford it, because I would have loved something, $15,000. I don't have that kind of money, but I would have taken out a loan and put maybe like, $3,000 down on it and whatever. But anyway, that night my mom and I went up to the Honda dealership near the barn. And before we walked in, I thought to myself, please let us get the right sales rep. Those guys make all the difference. My mom has told me horror stories about buying cars, and, I'm not tough when it comes to negotiations, as I, said before. I had to channel my inner dad to be like, please give me a backbone and some strength and facial hair so I could look like I was on X-Men. Anyway, when we walked in the door, we were greeted by a man named Raza. He had a really warm smile on his face, and, he was a cool dude. He gave up a really cool vibe. And, we went to his desk and we sat and we talked for a bit. He was a very spiritual guy. We were talking, my mom and him were talking about Bible study and church and everything. I was like, oh, cool. this is pretty cool. He can see that I'm a good person. Maybe he'll cut me a break. I told him about myself. I told him how nervous I was about buying a car. He was awesome with me, and he really did seem like a pretty okay guy. I told him I wanted a 2017 Honda Civic hatchback in Rally Red, and he took all my info down and said he would look into it and see what he could find. And my mom and I left, and I just kept focusing on letting everything work out in my favor. And when I left, for some reason, I had a good feeling. I didn't have a knot in my stomach like, oh my God, I'm just making a huge investment. This is a huge mistake. I can't do it. I was excited, and I had a really good feeling, and I just went with it. I didn't question it. And a few weeks went by, and I hadn't heard anything from Raza, and he had called me on a Friday, and I was working, and I couldn't talk, and I left him a voice message. So, a few weeks later, specifically on a Monday, I was on the phone with my mom talking about the new car. She was asking me, have you heard anything back? I said, no. He called me Friday. I left him a message. I haven't heard from him. Maybe I'll hear back from him. And me and her were talking, and she suggested that maybe I should look into getting a 2019 Civic, because I'd be its only owner and I could lease it. That way, if I didn't like it, I could give the car back in 3 years. And, at first I was like, no, I can't afford that. What the heck? I said I would consider it. We'll talk about it. It would be nice to be the only owner of that car, because I did want it for its entire lifespan. Hondas last for forever. They're a really great car. Their slogan I saw, it was expect the best. Man, is that true? And wouldn't you know it, later that day, I got a call from Raza, and he said that he was having trouble finding me a 2017 hatchback. And he asked if I would consider leasing, and I told him that my mom and I literally just had that discussion. And, he said, wow, funny how that stuff happens. Huh. So we made plans to meet up at the dealership that day and kind of talk about maybe a new car. He said, come in before, by this point it was October. He said, come in before, I forgot they were having some kind of sale. We're going to talk about it so that way then he can get me a good deal on a car or whatever. So I said, sure. And my mom, it was really funny because my mom had a meeting that night, and she was like, oh, I don't know if I'll be able to make it. You might have to do this on your own. I'm like, okay, we'll see how it happens. And we have to meet him by a certain time because he's got another client coming in and blah, 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 blah. And she's like, oh, well, I might be late. And this whole rigmarole was playing out and everything. And again, wouldn't you know it, we got there before the time we were supposed to, the two of us. It worked out serendipitously. It worked out fine. When we got to the dealership, my mom, Raza, and I did a lot of talking, again, about money and pricing. And I said I could put a certain amount down. I also said that I didn't make a ton of money with my photography business, which is true. I've only got one school at the moment. But I would be able to pay my loan because my business was, and it is, picking up. And from working on the podcasting job along with some pet sitting, I would be able to pay a loan, no problem. And after almost an hour of just back and forth between the bank and the loan dude, they finally approved me. Raza came back with a huge smile and said, by some miracle, they got me approved. And at that point, I was like, well, shit. I did not think I would get this far. He had some good news and he had some bad news. The good news was that I was approved. I was approved for an HRV, apparently, which I was like, cool. What is that? I've heard of a CRV, but not an HRV. It's more muscular, badass cousin. He told me that they did not, the bad news, they did not have any hatchbacks or any red cars on the lot that I was approved for. He said that it had to be a 2019 model and it could not be a 2020 model. They didn't have any lease specials for the 2020s, which I, qualified for, which, I was cool with, whatever. The fact that I was getting a brand new car after I just wanted a 2017 car, like, what? He told me he had a great car for me to look at, and it was the HRV. And it had a lot more space than the Civic, but it was in black. And, we walked around the entire lot. He showed me a lot of cars, a lot of ones in different colors. He showed me a white one, a gray one. I was just kind of, I was looking at all the different cars as we were passing by. I saw like a red SUV looking thing. I was like, what's that? He was like, out of your price range. And I was like, oh, right. We just kept walking. So we scoped and scoured through the entire lot, and we circled back to that black HRV at the start of the lot, and he opened up the door, he let me sit inside of it, and it was cool. I felt high up. It felt kind of big. I wasn't really in love with it, and I would have made myself happy if I did get it, though. But I kept thinking to myself, is this what it was meant to be? Was I not meant to get the hatchback? Was I not meant to get the Civic? And instead of thinking about it and grilling myself with this thought, I let it go. It's like, what? Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. So, the front of it did look like a badass Batmobile. I will give it that. And, Raza said I could take it for a test drive. So he went back inside to go get the key. And my mom looked at me, and she knew. As every mom knows, she just knew. And she looked at me and she said, don't settle. And she was 100% right. I would have been settling. I was so disappointed. So I made a plan that when Raza came back and we took it for a test drive, I would politely decline and say, I will gladly wait until they get a red hatchback in. So as I was sitting in the HRV waiting for Raza to come back, I saw a hint of red behind some cars. And I got out and I started walking towards it. And as I got closer, I saw the back and it said Civic. And it was indeed Rally Red. And my jaw dropped. And I looked at my mom. And the both of us couldn't freaking believe what we were looking at. It was my car. It was a Civic hatchback in Rally Red. Like, where the hell did this come from? Did somebody just like magically drop it? Like we were in some lot over here, and then just magically someone's like, boop, here's a red Civic. Here's a red Civic hatchback, the one that you came for. That was like, oh my gosh. And now the next and most important question was, what year was it? If it was a 2020, I'd be screwed and I couldn't get it. But if the sticker had a 2019 on it, that sucker was mine. So I apprehensively went up to the window and I looked, and we couldn't believe it because it was a 2019 model. And I looked at my mom and said, this is my car. I was standing by the trunk and I was pacing back and forth. So I was like, this is my car. This is my car. And she said to me, she's like, I have not seen you this happy all night. Like, this is your car. This is what was meant to happen. This is what was meant to be. So when Raza came back, I flagged him over. I was like, hey, yo, buddy, over here. Hey, over here, over here, over here. And he came over and I asked him, I was like, hey, is this car for sale? Like, is this one that I could get? And he's like, well, let's go take a look at the tag. And he looked at the tag and he was so puzzled because he didn't know how that car got there. He legitimately, he told me, yes, that car was available. So it was mine. That car was mine. And we found out later that someone didn't put it into the computer correctly. So it didn't show up as being in the lot. Like, talk about meant to be. That's weird. That's for the second time with another car of mine that happened. Like, it was there, but it was not at the same time. So this car, like everything else in life, found me. And within that entire night, I got approved for the car. I got my own insurance, which my God, that was scary. And I drove it off the lot by 10 o'clock. Like, Raza told me after, when I would go back for a couple of things, he told me, we don't ever stay open that late for anybody. And it was just everything that happened that night was a miracle. Like, that has never happened ever. So, friend, I manifested my dream car. I said what I wanted. I took the steps to make it happen, and it happened. It's just as simple as that. And man, do I love that car. I named her Ruby. My friend Laura suggested, because, red. So her name is Ruby Red Rocket, and I call her Ruby, and I talk to her all the time. I'm like, Rubes, thank you for taking such good care of me. You're such a good car. Rubes, you're beautiful. I say goodnight to her. I say good morning to her. I love and respect that car. And I know it's an object, but I do believe that if you put good energy into something, you get that good energy back. You know, I take my boots off before I get in, just like I do with the Prius. And when I see it in the driveway, I get that twinge of excitement like I did, you know, because that's my car sitting in the driveway. And it's great when I park in front of the front picture window and the light hits it. There's a beautiful red reflection that hits the wall. And it just, oh my gosh, I love my car. You know, I do feel like such a badass when I drive it too. Like, I baby it like I thought I would. It drives like a dream. I feel like I'm in my own universe when I'm inside that car. And, you know, the damn thing's smarter than I am. It was a total upgrade that I deserved. And I have a picture of my car. I got brochures in the mail after I bought my car, and I'm actually staring at my Civic right now. And oh, it's a good reminder of something that I thought was impossible was actually made possible. And it's just a reminder and a motivation of other things that I can manifest, you know. In the next episode, an episode about how I manifested $50,000 coming soon. That's not a joke. It's gonna happen, I swear. And you know, everything worked out for the Prius too. It's a feel good story. This is a feel good story. Now the Prius, it was rehomed and its name is now Renfield, and it is indeed named after a vampire because the damn thing just won't die. And I literally sold it for $300 in a song. I sold it to my vocal coach's wife, and he offered to give me some vocal lessons in exchange for part of the payment, which I think that's very fitting for me. I really do. And she loves the car just as much as I did, if not more. And it makes me so happy to see it kicking. You know, it's still alive and it's still going. And it all worked out the way that it was meant to be. And they actually took it to a different mechanic, and they put a significant amount of money. The check engine light has gone off and everything. And he said that the struts were so bad on the car that he doesn't know how I made it that long in the car without having it fall apart. And one more good like hit of a pothole and it would have just the whole car would have just like come right apart. So I got very lucky with it, and it all in divine timing, just it worked itself out. You know, Ruby came into my life when she needed to, and now we have many miles together. We have so many journeys and so many great adventures to go on, and I can't wait. You know, I'm sure there's going to be a time where I do a podcast in my car. I'll be in like, you know, Colorado or California with my computer and my microphone. I'll be like, guys, there's the oceans, Venice Beach is behind me, or I'm up in the mountains somewhere in Maine, and I'm recording a podcast from the back of my car, from the back of Ruby. As weird as that sounds. Well, thank you very much for listening, friend. I hope that was motivation for you to start manifesting and getting some good stuff for you to come into your life. Please leave some feedback on iTunes. It's greatly appreciated. You can leave them good stars. You can put whatever you want on there. You can put some good stuff. Yeah, please. And thank you. I appreciate it. I have an email for topics or for questions you have for me. It's heytherefriendpodcast@gmail.com. I have a Twitter, which I still need to update, @heytherepodcast. I have a Facebook, which again still needs to be updated. One day I will change these words. Facebook.com/heytherefriendpodcast. I have a Instagram too. I need to add that to my show notes. I have an Instagram too, and I believe it's @heytherefriendpodcast. I still need to check that and edit that one of these days. Man, friend, I need to light a fire under my ass to get me doing these things. Okay, anyway, if I have inspired you in any way, I would love to hear about it. Or if you have heard, read, or listened to anything that has inspired you, I would also love to know about it. Now, I do this show because I know what it feels like to be stuck and to not know what to do and to need a friend. And my hope is that I helped at least one person who has listened to the show, you know, and that's what makes this all worthwhile. And if this show has helped you out in any way, please share this. Please. And thank you. Now, friend, why don't you put on a tune that gets you the most excited and makes you feel just out of this world? Sing that song and feel those good vibes. And no matter what, just promise me you'll keep singing. Okay, friend?